Hey, everybody, it's Pete Vargas. Welcome back to week 2 of our unnamed show. Yes, unnamed show, because we don't have a name, because you are determining the name of this show. And last week, we talked about the fact that we want you to help us create this. Last week's set, if you have not seen part 1, thousands of people watched part 1 of the show last week. It was amazing. And we're streaming this several places. We're doing a live show every single week, and we don't have a name. And last week we gave away an all expenses paid trip to Miami to one of our $5,000 workshops for the person who picks the name. And so we gave Twitter space, we gave Instagram, we gave Zoom, we gave everybody the ability to be able to name our show. And so, guys, we're going to give you a couple opportunities here, but here's what you can count on from this show. Nobody understands speaking and stages and growing your business in the world better than I do. There's nobody. And I know that because I've been doing it for 20 years. And this show is really all about 4 things. Every week, as I take you behind the scenes and I help you out, it's about 4 things. How do you become a more powerful communicator in your world? You need that every day. It's a noisy world right now. And if you're not a powerful communicator, you're not getting people's attention. How do you get yourself on other people's digital stages and other people's physical stages? It will become one of the best customer acquisition channels that you have in your business. You'll land more speaking and more customers from being on other people's stages. How do you begin to build your own physical stages and digital stages? Your own, where we want you to be on as many OPSs, other people's stages at one time, because it costs you no time and no money. We want you constantly building one of your own stages, one of your own digital or one of your own physical stages. And the 4th component of what this show will encompass week in and week out. And some weeks we'll focus on one area and dive deep into a micro part of an area. Some weeks our guests will cover multiple areas, but the 4th are the products and services that you've got to take out into this world to get your message out and actually make a difference in people's lives. That's what this show is about. I'm excited because here in about 5 minutes, I have a guy who is known by many, many people. He's helped organizations, corporations, professional sports teams, college sports teams, schools, education. He's served in every sector. He's sold millions and millions of books. Last week, you guys said you wanted him, and we've got him. Next week, we have another guest. You said you want him. We got him too. And we're going to continue to do that on this show week in and week out. And so I'm going to bring him up here in just a second. But before I do, there were 3 names that really stuck out to me. And I am so excited because I'm on family vacation this week in Pentwater, Michigan, where my wife and I got married 21 years ago. But I am so committed to this show that I'm doing this show. It's one of the few things I'm doing this week as I'm on vacation. And right when I'm done with this, I'm going to go I shouldn't have said it. I'm going to go beat some people in tennis and pickleball right after this, just like I occasionally beat our guest, or just recently beat our guest a couple of weeks ago in pickleball. I'll share that story as I introduce him today. But hey, I want you guys to vote today. Here's the 3 names that I love the most. If you're on Twitter Spaces, if you're on Instagram, even if you're watching the replay of this on Twitter Spaces and Instagram, or if you're live in the Zoom, I want you to vote on which one of these 3 make the best sense to you. So let me give you some context. And guys, and before you vote, there's 3 names that really stuck out for me. It's either Backstage with PV3. I loved whoever created that one. Unleash Your Message with PV3. If you don't know, my name is Pete Vargas III. Or The Business of Speaking with PV3. Backstage with PV3, I like it because it kind of takes you backstage where most of you never get to go and learn the secrets of backstage. Unleash Your Message, I kind of like it because we're on a mission to get everybody's message out to the world. And then The Business of Speaking with PV3 tells the story of what we're going to be doing week in and week out. So I kind of like it as well. So I'm going to ask you to vote for one right now. Can you vote If you're in Twitter Spaces, drop which one that you like. If you're in Instagram, drop which one you like. If you're in Zoom, pick it right now. Pick it right now. Can you do that right now? I want to see which one you like the most. And I might even have our guest today vote because, and I'm curious, as you choose in the poll, please choose in the poll because we don't want to do it in the comments. As you choose in the poll, that's going to help us see which one you like. And next week, we'll be announcing our winner of the name. But I wanted to get your feedback. Those were my 3 favorite names. Thank you to all of you that submitted a name for this show. Officially in week 3, you will hear me come out in week 3 with the name of the show out of the beginning. I won't say this is a nameless show next week because we're going to come out with it right out of the gates. And so thank you for that. A powerful show every week, 30 to 45 minutes that's helping you understand the business model of speaking. I'm so excited about our guest today. He is an incredible human being. He's become a dear friend of mine. We're doing life together. We pray together. We talk about business together. We talk about everything in our families together. He's incredible. He's sold millions of books. Books have been a massive door opener for him in getting bigger and better stages. He's spoken on stages with so many people. He's spoken for so many organizations. I got the chance to be at his 50th birthday party this year, and I got to see the people whose lives he impacted. I couldn't believe not just the people who you would know their names if I said them, but even the people you wouldn't know. When your daughter says you're the greatest human being greatest person in my life ever, like that's what we desire as parents. And then you have a business colleague, you have a friend, you have a spouse, you have a family member. Consistently, I hadn't ever seen somebody. This is the type of response that you would want to get when you're no longer here one day. And he got the blessing of getting it on his 50th birthday. It was one of the most inspiring things for me this year. We're going to talk about all things of overcoming fear. We're going to be talking about a lot of things this week on this week's show that are going to help you in speaking. And I'm so excited also about his newest book that just came out that I think is going to be world changing. Just recently, I got to play him and Ed Milet. Me and Tim Tebow took on him and Ed Milet in a game of pickleball. And I will tell you, they got a 6-0 early lead because Jon was serving like a madman. I won't tell you the whole story because I don't want to, I don't want embarrassing stories on here. But I will tell you that Tim Tebow and I did beat Jon Gordon and Ed Milet 13-11 in pickleball. However, Jon and I are undefeated in doubles. Hey, would y'all in Zoom and Instagram, Twitter Space, everywhere where we're shooting this show live today, give some love to my man and my good friend, Mr. Jon Gordon. Yeah. Hey,
Great to
Jon,
see you, Pete.
how are you, man?
I'm doing great. I'm still going back to that game when we played and we were battling and Ed and I were battling, but you and Tim, you had a strategy. I'm not going to say what the strategy was, but you had a strategy, you executed it, and then you won at the end. So that was smart.
Yeah, last week, Jon, we asked people who they wanted to have on the show and your name popped up, and we actually had a form where all these speakers popped up, and people want to hear from Grant, Elena, they want to hear from Pat Quinn, they want to hear from you, they want to hear from Ed Milet, they want to hear from a lot of people. They put names like Oprah Winfrey, and we're going to have a lot of incredible names. And so I'll maybe get the scoop from Ed when he's on the show, what happened with that game, because that might be a little bit more honoring to do. But man, welcome to the show, man. We're so excited to have you, our first of many guests.
Well, I'm thrilled to be on. I love helping people with their speaking and their platform and wanting to grow. I think it's amazing what you're doing because that was my journey. I was like so many people. I wanted to speak, didn't know how. And one day I decided this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And that was a game changer for me and a life changer getting started in this profession. So I love helping people, telling them how I did it, because when you do several $1 million a year in speaking, when you've sold millions of books, when you've been on the biggest stages like I have, you have the experience, you know how, but I started knowing nothing early on.
Guys, some of y'all have probably read some of his books. The Energy Bus was one of my favorite. He also wrote a book called One Word. He's written a book, Training Camp, The Carpenter, The Gardener, The Seed, Like the guy's written dozens and dozens of books, sold millions, millions and millions of dollars, or sold millions and millions of books, and gets paid millions of dollars in keynote fees on an annual basis. Jon, how about we start there? How did you get started? Like, what was the start of that journey for you?
So I lost my job during the dot-com crash and I was miserable. I was negative. I was crumbling from the inside out. And my wife, Catherine, had enough of my negativity because I was blaming her for why my life was so bad. Well, I was not living up to the dreams that I had for my life, for what I wanted to create. And she said, if you don't change, like, we're over. I love you, but I'm not going to spend my life with someone who makes me so miserable. You need to change. And I need to change. So I remember like looking in the mirror going, okay, who are you? Who do you want to be? And I remember asking, why am I here? What am I born to do? Why am I so miserable? And I realized I was miserable because I wasn't helping others. I was focused on myself, and that made me miserable. And I said, okay, I want to help others. How can I do that? Writing and speaking came to me in that moment. I'll never forget. And I said, okay, I'm going to go do this. I don't know how. I don't know what I'm going to speak on, but I know I'm going to start doing this. And literally, that was my decision. Friends still remember when I made that decision and told them I'm going to be a writer and speaker. And then I came up with a concept called, get addicted to positive energy. So that began my initial talks. And I did like 80 free talks all around Jacksonville. I spoke everywhere and anywhere to anyone who would listen. I called up friends. Hey, I'd love to come speak to your team. Love to speak to your organization. Love to speak at your event. And I did a bunch of different events like that. Again, all free, but I was getting reps. I was getting experience. And I called up a guy, Ed Foreman, who used to be a big speaker back in the day. Somehow he answered my call. I said, hey, I want to be a speaker like you. What do I do? He said, speak. The more you do it, the more people see you. Guess what? If you're good, they'll refer you, and then you'll start getting more engagements. And that's what happened to me. I started doing a lot of engagements, and people started to refer me. I remember doing a $500 event. Then I did a $1,000 event. I'm like, all right, I'm a $1,000 speaker now. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to charge $1,500. All right, now I'm a $1,500 speaker. Then I'm like, okay, I'm a $2,000 speaker. Now I'm going to get $2,000. And it literally was from the grassroots of doing this work. When the Energy Bus came out, I went on a 28 city tour around the country, paid for it myself. Publisher wouldn't even pay for it. And I went from city to city, sharing the message in the book. And we had like 5 people in one city, 10 people in another, 20 in another. It wasn't very successful. We didn't have social media. The most people we had were 100 people in Des Moines, Iowa. They thought Jeff Gordon was coming. That's why they showed up. I remember I got home. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew that I had this vision and mission. And here is what it was, Pete. This was the key: to inspire and encourage as many people as possible, one person at a time. You see, you have to know your mission. You have to have a vision. And if you have a vision and you have a mission and you know your why, you'll know the way. And you're not going to let obstacles get in the way. Because did I face a lot of rejections? You bet. People are like, who are you? What are you going to speak on? And I was even asking that of myself a lot of times, like, who are you? Who are you to be doing this? And I know people often struggle with that self-worth. Well, let me tell you something. If you have something that could impact someone's life, you have an obligation to share with them. You have an obligation to get on a stage, because if you don't, how can you make a difference in their life? How can you help them? You're actually being selfish if you don't share your mission and your vision and the message you're meant to share with this world.
Guys, let me go take a couple of major nuggets if you didn't hear them. Nugget number 1, the problem that Jon went and solved in this world out of the gates had to do with the problem that he had at home in his own marriage. His wife said he was negative. I know his wife. I've gotten to hear this story from them. He was negative. So Jon set out on a journey to figure out how to become more positive and optimistic and create more energy in his life. And as he did it for himself, most of you think I got to have 1,000 customers. No, you are your first customer. You turn your life around with what you're talking about, then you can go turn the world's life around with what you're talking about. Jon was his first customer. He overcame this problem of being negative and blaming and all of this. And now he's probably, if not the one of handful of most positive people in my life. Like if I need positivity, I call Jon Gordon. And so I want you to see, he got clear on a problem he wanted to solve based on first overcoming it himself. The second thing I want you to see is that one of the most powerful stages that all of you listening can be on to build your business, build your brand, and put in the reps are local stages. I say this all the time. Jon, they could go be on a local stage every day in most cities across the United States. Not all cities, but Jon, how easy is it to be on a local stage?
It's very easy. And going back to what you just said, Pete, you are your first customer because we always teach what we need to learn. And so I was researching ways I could be more positive. This was during the emerging field of positive psychology. Right now, everyone's talking about positivity. No one was talking about this in 2002. And so for me, I was on a quest to get better myself. And so often your message for the world is actually what you need to learn the most and what you need to heal the most. And as you get better, you are actually now someone who can change someone's life who was once like you. And so that's why I'm able to help so many people who are negative or dealing with their mental health or just fearful and anxious and stressed or dealing with negativity at work or at home. I work with tons of businesses on negativity in their workplace, tons of leaders who are dealing with negativity. And so now, because of what I went through, what I had to overcome, I'm in a great position to be able to help people through those challenges. And so, yes, your local sages is where you start. You have to work on your craft. You have to get better. So guess what? The people around you are those you can influence, even if it's your group of friends. Literally, my daughter is now speaking. So I've applied the same formula for my daughter. My daughter is 25 years old. She's been speaking for a year and a half. Her first talk, I said, go speak to your old lacrosse team that you played for in high school and go speak to those girls. That was her first talk. 3 talks later, she's with me at Clemson University speaking to the baseball team. I was speaking. I said, Jay, you're going to speak for 5 minutes. You're going to talk to them, and then I'll speak. She's like, no, Dad, I can't speak to them. Yes, you can. Tell them one story, one principle, one application. That's a whole other thing. To get started, what's the principle? Share a story that brings the principle to life, and then an application, how it applies to them. 5 minutes, do that. She did. It went well. She's like, okay, I can now do this. But it was an audience right in front of her. So go after the audiences in front of you. My wife will actually, when she first started, she spoke to her group of friends and gathered them at the house and said, I'd love to just share my talk with you. And she did that. So that's how you get started. Just do it. And what happens is when you give one talk, you're like, okay, I could do this. You start getting more and more confidence. Then you give another talk. Then you give another one. Then those friends have a friend that works at a business or a company or an organization. Hey, will you come speak? And you go do that. But before you get to do that, you have to really understand what it is you want to share. What's the message? What's the mission? What's the core thing that you're sharing with them that you want to be known for? When I teach speakers and I talk to them about this, I really help them get clear on like, what is it that there's this burning desire that you know that you're meant to share. And Pete talked about positivity. Well, that's really my expertise, positive leadership, positive teamwork. I know I'm the best in the world at what I do in terms of helping organizations, helping teams. How do I know? Who's worked with the Dodgers and helped them get to a World Series? Me, the Rams, Miami Heat, all these different, Tampa Bay Lightning. I can go on and on of the teams I've worked with and the corporations I've worked with, In-N-Out Burger, Snapchat, all these leaders who have struggled with negativity in their organization, negativity in their leadership. How do we build a more positive team? How do we move forward in a more positive way towards our vision, right? So you got to know what you want to speak on and then become known for that. In-N-Out Burger is known for their burgers. It's what they do. They do that so well. I said, hey, will you ever do chicken sandwiches? They looked at me like I had 2 heads. Of course not. We will never do chicken sandwiches. This is who we are. This is what we're known for. What do you want to be known for? And one more thing, Pete, I want to share. Early on, because I wanted to add value, I started a weekly positive tip. So I was learning all these ideas on positivity that I'm researching. Then I start practicing these ideas. And then from there, I started a weekly positive tip that I was emailing out. This is 2002. No one was doing e-newsletters back in 2002. I was one of the first ones doing it. So I started sending this newsletter out. 5 subscribers at the time. My mother, my brother, my best friend from college, those were my subscribers. But you know what happened? I started small, send this newsletter out. People start sharing my ideas with others. So all of a sudden it starts to grow. Then I have 500. Then I have 1,000. The most important thing I've ever done for my business was my email newsletter, which is now like 500,000 people or more towards 1 million, that I now send out that weekly positive tip. I actually still write it. All these years later, since 2002, I still do it. I still share it because it's the essence of who I am. It's part of my mission. And that is what got me on so many speaking stages was this newsletter because people saw your words, they heard your advice, and they said, oh, now you want to speak? Now we have Twitter. Now we have Instagram. Now we have Facebook. Now we have all these different reels you can do. There's so many more ways now to get your message out there. But that's how I started. And I still say it was the best thing I ever did.
Guys, I got to tell you another nugget, another 2 nuggets he dropped. He dropped this one a minute ago. He takes this tour all across the country, and we're going to come back to this. And not many people are showing up, 100 because they thought it was the race car driver in Des Moines. But John, really quickly, how many books did Energy Bus go on to sell?
Oh, it's over 3 million now. That book that was rejected by over 30 publishers, that tour that did not go well, but I had my vision and mission, kept going, kept believing. Now over 3 million copies. It hit the Wall Street Journal bestseller list last week at number 5. And we're talking 16 years later after being published.
Guys, I want you to hear that. So even while he was putting in the reps city to city to city, he still like completely knocked it out of the park. Like he completely knocked it out of the park. The other thing I want you to know is, remember, there's 4 things we're talking about: OPSs, OWN, your products and services, as well as your communication.
Yeah.
John,
people are asking the book. It's called The Energy Bus. It's my most popular book, The Energy Bus. Yep.
But those are the four things that this show is all about. And if you really pay attention to what John's done, John's already dropped a nugget in almost all of these. He was on other people's stages locally to get started. He talked about how he communicated and how he taught his daughter to communicate. I'm going to come back to that here in a minute. He actually talked about what I believe is one of the most powerful of your own stages that you can have. And most people don't look at this as their own stage. It's your email list. Your email list is more powerful than your any social media following, because at any time people can take your social media following down. They can take it away. They can go out of business. They can do whatever, but they can't take your emails away. Your email list is one of the most powerful stages you have. And John simply wrote some simple positive messages on a daily basis and sent it out. And people love to get that positivity. And now he's approaching 1 million people on his email list. There's no other stage that he does that is as big as his email list. So for all of you out there, invest in your email list. John, I want to talk about a piece that is interesting to me, because I think your daughter faced this. I think Catherine, your wife, faced this. I don't know if you faced it, but people would rather die than the fear of being in front of people. I don't know if you went through any fear early on in your career, but like, talk about either how you overcame it or how you helped your wife and daughter overcome just the fear of speaking in front of people.
Yeah, Pete, think about that. People would rather give or actually be in the casket than give the eulogy at a funeral. That means that they'd actually rather be dead than actually talk at a funeral. And so if you think about it, we're so fearful of speaking. And I was too. I actually consider myself a writer first, a speaker second. And the reason why I got into speaking, because the publisher said, if you want to get published, and yes, I got published by John Wiley and Sons, you have to actually get out there so that people want to buy your book. There has to be a marketing and a platform for you to sell your book. If you don't have that platform yet, I do recommending self-publish now, because it's easier than ever to get started that way. But I got a publisher and I was fearful of speaking, really scared, Pete. And so what got me through it was thinking about the lessons I can share, the advice I can share, the encouragement I can share, like what I could give the audience. Pavarotti said, everybody wants the audience to love them, but I love the audience. And really what we're afraid of is fear of messing up, of not being enough, of not being worthwhile, of people thinking that we're an imposter. When really, if you know you're here to make a difference and share something that can help people in their life, as I said earlier, you have an obligation to share it. So my purpose was greater than my challenges. My mission was greater than the fear of messing up. And my wife will tell you to this day, like sometimes early on, I did not give great talks. She's like, man, you weren't even good, but you were still doing it. And you know what? I wasn't that good early on. It's okay though. I was still getting the reps in. I was still doing it. I was still getting better. And there were people in the audience that thought, yeah, okay, I got something from him. Oh yeah, he made a difference here. I really don't think I got good until like 5 years ago, probably really good, probably 5 years ago after doing this for years. Some people got better earlier than I did. And for me, it's like, you know what? But my mission was more important. So you're going to be fearful. but know that you have something to say. And then make sure you have a really good story to tell. And that always makes you feel better when you have a story to tell that brings the principle to life. And as I say, when you can help them apply it, now you're making a difference in their life. When I speak to professional sports teams, if I can't help them get better, they're not going to listen to me. So I've got to make sure that I'm giving them something that they're going to take away that will make them better in their life, in their career, in their work, that's going to make them a lot of money. Well, guess what? If you have something that can help someone, they're going to want to listen, and then you're going to want to share it. I think that's really important.
Yeah, guys. Hey, one of the biggest things whenever you speak on a stage is help people get from A to B. A lot of people don't have the time to get from A to Z. Like a lot of times, one of the big mistakes people make is they like download my book from a stage. I always ask the question, how many people in the audience have downloaded a book from somebody who gave it away from free from stage? And let's just say 90% of the audience raises their hand. Then I asked them how many people have read it, and nobody's raised their hands, which means that they didn't get to tap into your genius from that being your free giveaway. I'm talking about your free giveaway from a stage. Give them something that's practical that makes them win immediately. Like they can go get a win right after they're done hearing you speak. Think about what that A to B is in their mindset, in their money, in their relationships, in their health. Like somebody just said, ask one thing somebody gave me. Go ask your son, what are the times where you feel most supported by dad and you feel like dad is like in your corner and got your back? When do you feel most supported and most loved by me? And I had never asked my son that. You know how quick that win took me, how long it took me? It was no time. I got to do it right when I came home. And so I love what Jon said. Be thinking about how you can help somebody win. And I want to tell you what helps you overcome fear is when you're helping people win. When you help people win and you stop thinking about yourself and how they see you and start having such a love for them and how you can serve them, Jon nailed it. It knocks it out of the park for you. Jon, I know that you have more than your books. Jon sold millions and millions of books. And Jon's got a whole product suite. He's got certifications. He's got training. He's got consulting. So he is a speaker that I love to have here because he does get paid to speak, but he has a product suite of a lot of things. He was just at a conference recently and a lot of business came from one conference that he was at. But Jon, I know your books. Talk about the power of how your books have helped open up the door for speaking engagements. Talk about how your books, like you're now getting $50,000, $75,000 keynote fees. I'm not sure what the most is you've gotten. $75,000 keynote fees, guys. Like give it up for that. That's amazing. And he started with free. By the way, pay attention. Success leaves clues. Jon said he did 80 free speaking engagements. I did hundreds. Grant Cardone did 10,000 free speaking engagements before he ever got paid a penny. That's why he loves his show so much, because we're shortcutting the process. He's like, I should have only done 80, but I did 10,000 because I didn't know what Pete Vargas knew. I didn't know what Pete Vargas knew, or didn't know what Pete Vargas's guests like Jon Gordon knew. So this is to help you shortcut things in your life. But Jon, how powerful is it for people to have a book, to be able to, how much does that help them get on stages and better stages and bigger stages?
It helps a ton. You know, doing the work in the dark helps you shine when the spotlight is on you. And writing is one of those things that you have to do in the dark a lot of times, where you're writing and you're putting this message out there. And when those books are written, whatever book or books you write, people can actually read your book at any moment, at any time. So you can write a book like I did in 2006, Energy Bus, comes out in 2007. I'm 35 years old. I'm now 52, still speaking on a book that I wrote all the way back then. People are reading it right now for the first time. It's really a time machine. And it's also a business card. And it's a way to share your principles and your lessons with others that they can read anytime and take it with them on the road. And so at every moment when you have this book out there, you never know who's reading it. You never know what they're learning from you. And you never know when they're going to call and say, hey, will you come speak? I can tell you that in writing these books, that's what led to a lot of my speaking. Now, after you start speaking, people will see you speak and then refer you or want you to speak at other events. That happens a lot. Most speaking comes not from cold calling. I hardly got any speaking whenever I cold called. It usually happened after you were speaking, getting out there doing the smaller events where then someone saw you and invited you to the bigger events, or your name gets known, or the books that you write, because they read your books, they like it, they want you to talk about what you wrote about in the book. That's been huge for me. So I know that I've gotten a lot of speaking engagements because of the books I've written. So I think it's your calling card. And I think that when you first write your first book, for instance, it should be similar to your most popular talk. So when you speak on it, they then want to buy the book after your talk. And so the book will support the talk and the talk supports the book. And that's what I did with Energy Bus. And most of my talks early on were about Energy Bus and still talk about it. And I think it's one of the reasons why it sells so many copies, because I'm still talking about the message from the Energy Bus all these years later. And then guess what? It sells more books, more people read the books, and it leads to more talks. So it becomes a flywheel where you're selling more books and giving more talks based on the message and the core message. I see too many people, they'll write one book and then they'll like right away write a completely different book. And I think that actually creates market confusion and doesn't build your brand enough. I think early on, you have to be known for who you are and for the message that you want to share. But books are essential for getting your name out there as a speaker. I only know a few speakers who haven't written a book who are really prolific speakers. And there's a couple of them, and I've been encouraging them to write books for years. And I think they'd be even busier now, even busier, even crazy busy, making more money. When you write a book, you're able to charge more as well, because now you're seen as more of an authority because of the book that you've written. So big time on books, Pete.
Yeah, I love it, guys. Hey, Twitter, Instagram, live show as we're doing this live. Jon's getting $75,000 keynote fees. I don't know if people know this. Grant just raises and is getting it. Grant's getting $250,000 of keynote fees right now. I'm up to $50,000 in keynote fees, and I'm one of those guys that is committed to writing a book. I haven't written my book, but I know what it'll do. It'll take me up as well. Jon, last thing I want to talk about today before we actually give, I'm going to give people an incredible gift today, but I'm so excited about this book. I've read The One Word. I've read Positive Leadership. I've read The Garden. I've read The Energy Bus. I've read a lot of books, but I don't know if I've read a book as fast as I'm reading this book. I'll be done with this book from start to finish in about 24 to 36 hours. Like, I am so excited about this book. This book just dropped this week called The One Truth. And anybody on here that decides to go get a copy, get 2 copies, or get 5 copies of this, I'm about to give you $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 worth of bonuses just for getting a book, or getting a book for you and your spouse, or getting 5 books for your family or colleagues and friend of yours. Like, if you go get 1, 2, or 5 online at Amazon or theonetruth.com or wherever you want to get it, I'm going to make it a no-brainer. But Jon, talk about why the message of this book and why you're so excited about this book.
This book is like nothing I've ever written before. It is so important, so powerful for this time right now. So many people are struggling with their fear, their anxiety. They feel chronically stressed. They're worried all the time, and they're going through life in this fearful way. And this is a book about going through life with power, with joy, with peace, with confidence, with courage. It's about uplifting your state of mind instead of going through life with a lower state of mind. It's revolutionary in so many ways. And the people that have read it already said, wow, this is like nothing you've ever written or nothing like that's out there in this world. It's really a next level book. It's a paradigm shifting book. Like, once you read this book, you'll never see life the same way again. For instance, as a speaker, the word integrity comes from the word integer, which means whole and complete. Well, a leader or speaker with integrity is whole and complete, which means they have power. They have oneness. When you are one, you feel powerful. You feel connected. A team that is united and connected is a powerful team. A team that is divided and disconnected is a weak team. Well, guess what? When you are a leader or a speaker with integrity, there's alignment, who you are and what you say, that's when you truly become a powerful speaker, because who you are determines how you lead, and the message resonates even before you even say anything. They feel your power. They feel your message. So this book is about that. It's like someone said, I felt like you gave me the secrets of the universe in a 24-hour read. Literally, that's so simple, but so profound and practical that I can now go be a Jedi in this world. And that's what this book is all about. It literally is the secrets. And if you read this book and you apply it, I guarantee you'll be so much more powerful. I wish I read this book then when I was struggling with my fear, my stress, my anxiety, when I was going through all the tough times in my life. But I got to say, going through those times really paved the way for me to be a light for others right now. And if I never went through that, I would have never been on this quest to get better myself and to help others get better. I've shared this now with NBA players, Major League Baseball players. We're talking Hall of Famers. I've shared it with Super Bowl winning coaches and all these successful leaders of organizations. And the quotes coming in and the testimonials have been off the charts of what they're saying. Ed Milet, Dabo Sweeney, Sean McVay from the Rams, Alan Mullally, who turned around Ford when they were losing $14 billion, gave an amazing quote for the book. He said, the one truth is really the essence behind how he turned around Boeing and Ford in terms of creating a collaborative work environment and creating oneness instead of separateness. So I want to encourage you, read this book. If you know someone who's struggling, this book will be a game changer for them. And if you know someone who wants to get better and be at their best, this book will be for them as well to get to the highest level of their performance. I didn't write just to write it. Like, I've written 28 books. This is my 28th book. Wow. This is my most profound, my most important book I've ever written. And I really feel like I'm just getting started with this book. I'll be talking about this book for the rest of my life because I feel like Energy Bus was my beginning. And this is like my next phase right now of my career, going to the next level to help other people go to the next level.
Jon, I love it because I'm already halfway through it. And guys, like, I want you to know, like, the whole first segment, you could sit down, and I read it in a morning, but the whole first segment is about the difference between high state of mind and low state of mind, and how you move, what draws you to the place of low state of mind, and the counter to get you to a high state of mind. Because you're going to be in a low state of mind, but if you can change it quickly to a high state of mind, Jon gives you the playbook of how to do that. And so we're talking about all the mental anxiety and anguish and all of the stuff that's happening in the minds of not just our kids, but all of us. And like, he talks about the state of mind, the 5 Ds, and how to elevate your state of mind right out of the gates. He talks about the one truth and, you know, being connected and being separate. It's such a profound book. And I want to encourage you guys. I told you this show is all about bringing you content. What is the biggest nuggets that Jon Gordon has given you today? Like, drop that in the chat. Like, I'm thinking about all of the freaking nuggets around, you know, being behind the stage, being backstage, understanding the business of speaking, whatever the name of this show is going to be. Jon's giving you so many nuggets. And guys, I want you guys to go pick this up. You can pick it up on Amazon, or you can pick it up at getonetruth.com, right, Jon?
Getonetruth.com. And Pete, I want to give them just a real quick nugget takeaway, because I think I got to give them something practical right now that's going to help them. I know that's what you're all about. Guys, when you're trying to speak, the 5 Ds are going to come in. This is in the book, the 5 Ds that will sabotage your mindset and cause you to be in a lower state of mind. Doubt, distortion, which are negative thoughts that will tell you things about yourself and your future that just aren't true. I teach you how to overcome those negative thoughts. Discouragement is the 3rd D. We don't give up because it's hard. We give up because we get discouraged. You might get discouraged that you're not living up to your potential. You're not on the stages you want to be in, or you give a bad talk. I've given bad talks way in the beginning, and it was like, I felt discouraged. I wanted to give up, but I didn't. 4th D, distraction. Distractions are the enemy of greatness. And then 5th D is division. And the root for the Greek word of anxious means to separate and divide. And so when you are anxious, you feel separate. You feel divided. You don't feel powerful. You don't feel strong. And guess what? When you're in a low state of mind, circumstances or the crowd or situations in your life will bring you down. But when you're in a high state of mind, the same circumstances can happen, but you rise above, you move forward. So how do we do that? This is what the book is all about. Trust in truth, right? Unite with love. Love casts out fear. N, neutralize the negativity. E, elevate your thinking. Tune, T-U-N-E. We got to tune more into the positive because the brain is an antenna. Talk about more about that in the book. Don't tune to the negative. Tune into the positive. Trust in truth. Unite with love. Neutralize the negativity. Elevate your thinking. This will help you as a speaker, and it will help you in life. That's just a little glimpse of what you can learn, but it's practical right here, right now, free to use.
Yeah. Before Jon gives his final thoughts, I'm gonna say one thing. If you get this on, you know, the audiobook, the Amazon, you get it at, Get One Truth, anywhere you get it, I'm going to go by the trust factor. I want to encourage you to get as many books as possible. I'm getting it for my wife and my 2 oldest kids, my whole family. Like, I'm getting it for my whole family. And so if you end up getting one book, I'm about to give you a page right now that's going to help you out. If you get one book, we have a digital course on overcoming the fear of speaking that we sell for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I think we sell it for we've sold it for up to $1,000. If you get one book, I'm going to give you Overcoming the Fear of Speaking as a gift from me. Plus you get all these bonuses from Jon, which we're not going to talk about because you get a ton of bonuses from Jon for buying the book. If you go to Get One Truth, you'll see all the bonuses that he's giving. If you get 2 books, I'm going to give you Overcoming the Fear and a course of ours called Communicate to Convert. How do you communicate to get more people to convert into going deeper with you? And Jon knows, and Jon will tell you, he's told me multiple times, there's nobody better in the world at that. Like very few people in the world better than that than me. This is a course that we've sold thousands of them. And we're going to gift it if you actually are generous and you get a book for somebody else. And if you get 5 books, I'm about to give you the link and we'll be done here. You're going to get Overcoming the Fear of Speaking. You're going to get Communicate to Convert. And we're going to do a one-on-one signature talk design session where we help you map out your talk that you can go share in your local market or you can share online. We're going to spend 30 minutes. My team's going to spend 30 minutes on the phone with you, helping you map out your talk to give you the power of actually going out and sharing your message. And the reason we do that for 5 books, because I know that you're really generous now that you're giving it to 5 people, you're gifting it to 5 people. So this is what I want you to do. This is good. Hey, if you're committed in the chat to 1, 2, or 5, just drop that in the chat. 1, 2, or 5, 1, 2, or 5. Drop it in the chat. I want Jon to see this. I want him to see the blessing of this. 1,
Wow.
2, or 5, 1, 2, or 5, 1, 2, or 5. Like our audience responds, Jon. Like we've only talked
So
about
nice.
3 or 4 people's books. Look at that. No,
So
like
awesome.
what number are you going to do? 1, 2, or 5? Whatever you can do is
Wow.
great. So,
So nice.
I'm asking you to go to GetOneTruth.com or Amazon.com, order it right now. And this is how you claim your bonus. I'm trusting you. It's a trust factor. You go to 10xstages.com/OneTruth. 10xstages.com/OneTruth. And once you've purchased 1, 2, or 5 books, you then go to that 10xstages.com/OneTruth and you claim your bonuses right there. You just tell me, I bought 1 book. Be honest, please. I bought 2 books or I bought 5 books, and we will email out your bonuses. And so, Jon, I'm stoked about this book, but I'm so stoked about all the nuggets you dropped today. It's been unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, guys, get 10, get 20, get 50 for your companies, get them for your employees, get them for your family. Like this book will change their lives. Jon, final thoughts. And I'm curious also what you voted for, what name of the show that you voted for, but I want to know your final thoughts right after that. So what was your pick for the show?
It was Backstage with Pete Vargas, because I love the last one in terms of the business of speaking, but I think that would be a subtitle. I think Backstage gives you a lot of different room to play with because you're taking people backstage into the business, behind the scenes. There's so many little secrets in this industry. And Pete, you really are the best in the world at this, especially from the stage, especially for how do I take my ideas and turn them into applications to people, companies, businesses. And you know what I've realized all these years, Pete? It's like, we're not doing this to sell a product. We're doing this because if you give people the tools, they can implement them. And most people do not implement things. And that's why we don't see success. We've got to give people the tools to implement. And if we don't give them the tools, how could they do that? And you help people like me get people the tools that will make a difference. So that's what it's all about.
I love it. Final thoughts from you today, Jon.
I appreciate everyone getting the book. It just means a lot to me. You know, my whole thing has been add value. When I started a newsletter, it was about adding value. You want to be a great speaker? Here's the secret. Look to add value in people's lives through your talks, through your work, through your books. If you add value in every talk, every event, every interaction, and you seek to add value, you will become someone who is very valuable to others, and people will clamor to work with you. It's from my book, The Carpenter: Love, Serve, and Care. Those are the greatest success principles of all from The Carpenter. Love, serve, and care. You go out and love what you do, love others. Look for ways to serve them, show you care, and you'll stand out in a world where so many don't love, don't serve, don't care, and you'll exponentially grow your business when you love, serve, care, and add value.
Guys, that's great wisdom to end. That's such great wisdom to end. Incredible first guest on whatever the title of the show is going to be. Guys, next week on week 3, there was another person that you had multiple votes that you wanted. They're going to be with us next week. They're going to be with us next week. It's going to be exciting. Same place, same time, every week. We do it live. And so make sure you go get 1, 2, 5, 10, as many books of the One Truth. So grateful for Jon Gordon this week. Guys, take something. Make a decision right now. What are you going to take? Are you going to build your email list? Are you going to go get on some local stages? Are you going to go write your next book? Are you going to go on tour across cities and begin to get your message out? Are you going to get clear on what it is that you're going to say? I mean, Jon dropped so many nuggets. Make a decision of what you're going to take and do something with it this week. We'll see you next week, guys. Thank you for being with us this week, and we will see you next week. Make sure you go to 10xstages.com/OneTruth to claim your bonuses after you go buy 1, 2, or 5 books. We'll see you next week, guys.